Hey guys, how's it going? It has been a minute, so today I figured it's time again to do one of my journal videos. I love doing these videos. I'm not sure what you guys think of them. I know some of you like them. They don't get as many views as the 90s footage, which I get, but for me, I love making them. You know, there's things that I didn't get to film when I was a teenager, but I was always writing about my journal and taking photos of. So this gives me an opportunity to take those photos and then make like a little video document for me. What I want to read about today is Lollapalooza 1995. For some of my younger viewers who might not know what Lollapalooza is it was a traveling alternative rock music festival. It was founded by the singer of Jane's Addiction, and it started in 1991, and it would just go city to city with a bunch of alt-rock bands from the time. I think it stopped touring, I want to say 97, 98 was the last year they came through, but I'm going to read about Lollapalooza 95, which was the first and only Lollapalooza I ever went to. I really wanted to go to Lollapalooza in summer of 93. At the time, there were rumors that Nirvana was going to play it, and then Kurt decided not to do it, and it didn't happen. So in 95, I finally went. This was the summer after my 10th grade year. I was going to a lot of local punk shows. It was the summer the first Foo Fighters album came out. It was the summer Batman Forever came out, and it was the summer of Lollapalooza 95. So without further ado, I'm going to read about Lollapalooza 1995 and share with you some of the pictures I took that day, which I took a lot. Tuesday, August 1st, 1995. All right, so to clarify here, at this point in my life, I had started to journal a lot less, and when I would journal, it'd be smaller entries. So this is actually written 2 days after Lollapalooza 95. The show itself was on July 30th, 1995, but I'm writing about it the following Tuesday, 2 days later. Sunday was Lollapalooza 95 in Camden. Lauren, Jessica, Lisa, Britta, and I left at 4:30 a.m., which is crazy. We'd wanted to camp out the night before, because it was the first music festival we'd ever done, and that's what people did. Although this is the kind of thing that probably really wouldn't have required it. So instead, we decided to just leave super early in the morning. It was dark out when they came and picked me up at my house. We stopped at Wawa on the way, and I got a killer shake. Do you remember those? Oh, those were so good. We got down there at around 6 a.m. and the sun had just started to come up. There's this great group picture of all of us standing in front of the van. You're probably looking at it right now, right after we had gotten down there, and you can kind of tell in the sky that the sun's just coming up. We all sat at the gate and talked and waited for doors to open. I remember that. And around 10 p.m., the merch booth opened, and I bought a Beck t-shirt. Yeah, they had those merch trailers set up, and I went, and I was in a big Beck phase at that point, so that's who I was real excited about seeing was Beck. There's a couple people, but Beck especially. But I knew I was going to buy a Beck shirt, and I still have the Beck shirt I bought. This bad boy right here. That's the shirt I bought at Lollapalooza 95. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, let's get back down. The gates opened at 11 a.m., and we ran in and got a seat front and center on the lawn. Before the Mighty Mighty Bosstones came on, I went down and bought a Coke. I then snuck down to the seats while the Bosstones were playing Someday, I Suppose. Yeah, we were on a lawn, so they had a seated section in front of us as it was close to the stage. And we learned really quickly throughout the day it was pretty easy to sneak up into the seated section, so we did that several times throughout the day. We walked around during the Jesus Lizard, which is kind of a bummer. I wish I'd watched the Jesus Lizard more. I think after that, Elastica played. That summer, they had a big song with Connection, and I had the cassette single for that song. So I was excited to see Elastica, but that day was a scorcher, so it was really hot, and we were pretty dehydrated. So you could go inside the concourse area and just kind of lay on the floor, and they had these monitors up. They had a live feed of the bands on stage, and you could hear the sound from the venue. So we just kind of laid on the floor and watched Elastica inside on the TVs. All right, back at it. Then we sat in the seats for the first half of Beck, and the second half of the set we were on the lawn. Beck opened up with the song Fume from the Loser CD single, which is my favorite. Yeah, I love that song. It was cool because that was a deep cut song for him to open up with. And like I said, I was in a Beck phase at that point. At 5 p.m., I went down to the third stage and watched the Bosstones do a second set. Yeah, the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, actually, there was a second smaller stage. They played a whole other set on the smaller stage, so I went down and watched that. And I was excited because I was excited to see the Bosstones as well. And my friend Matt and Chuck were there, so I got to hang out with them during the Bosstones set and then met back up with my friends, the girls, after they played their set. Oh, they played Simmer Down, Devil's Night, and Devil's Night Out. At 7:25, Hole went on. They opened with Plump. She also played the Nirvana song Penny Royalty. I remember I was really excited about that because this was less than a year after Kurt had died. So them doing a Nirvana cover has been exciting. It was the first time I got to really rock out to a Nirvana song live. It was kind of a weird strummy version. Like, it wasn't like a full band, it was just her kind of like strumming the melody. I had listened to a recording of it recently and had forgotten. I'm like, oh, it wasn't a full band thing. It was just kind of her strumming and singing. The last band to play was Sonic Youth. I snuck back up to the seats and watched them play with Mark. On the way home, we all rode in the back of the van and drank sodas from the cooler. My friend Jessica's dad had this van. We used to call it the party van. He was pretty cool. He like taught guitar to like all the kids in our town and stuff like that. And we would always go to the shows and ride in the back of this van, and we'd have a cooler filled with sodas and stuff. It was pretty awesome, you know, to go to shows that way. You're probably seeing some pictures right now of us hanging out in the back of the party van. You know, I remember us being like really sunburned and really thirsty and just kind of hanging out and joking around and taking pictures after the show on the ride home. And it was a really, really fun part of the experience. Then, okay, here we go. The next day, I got up and went to Repo Records with Kathleen. Kathleen was a friend of mine. She bought a whole bootleg called B-Girl. We then ate at IHOP and took the train home. You're probably seeing right now, this is a picture of Kathleen at the Paoli train station. We would take the train to and from Repo Records, and then one of our parents would pick us up and take us home from there. Then I went to the Goshen Fair. We went to Little Caesars. I have a picture of that. And then I talked to this girl named Alexis. Oh, that's how I met Alexis. Yeah, there was this girl I had dated for a little bit that summer named Alexis, and I couldn't remember how I met her, but clearly I met her at the fair. Okay, and that's it. Yeah, Lollapalooza 95. That was really exciting. I had never done, at that point, a music festival. I'd seen Nine Inch Nails and Green Day, but doing like a music festival where it's 10 like alt-rock bands was really exciting. It was really fun. So it was like the Bosstones, Jesus Lizard, Beck, Cypress Hill, Elastica, Sonic Youth, Hole. I'm forgetting some. Yeah, man, look it up. Those bands all played, though. It was the first time I was at Camden. It had just opened. I feel like that year in 95, that venue had just opened. So it was like a brand new venue. It was just one of those core, fun, youthful memories. Being outside all day, watching live music, seeing a bunch of bands. I wish it still came through. It was kind of like Warped Tour before Warped Tour, which Warped Tour doesn't exist anymore either. Well, I guess it's coming back. I don't know if I could do that these days. I get tired easy. Like, you know, go out, do something, lay on the couch, watch Forensic Files. I think Forensic Files is always going to win these days. But, like, I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. So that's it, man. I had a couple ideas for what to do for this journal entry. I landed on this because I had a lot of pictures. The last one came from a suggestion. If you have any ideas of something you want me to read about that I might have pictures and a journal entry of, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. If you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's been a hot second since I said the thing about if you're just new to the channel, you don't know where to start, just go to the 90s Home Movies Chronological playlist and watch a bunch of shit in order. Like, I think it plays so much better if you watch it in order, because then you get like kind of the time passing. You've heard it. Otherwise, guys, have an awesome, awesome day and see you. Thanks for watching.